In the headlines, university lecturers defy court order to resume work, stay away from classroom. Oyo police parade 20-year-old suspect for rape, murder of 17-year-old. Farming communities relocate to safer places as floods wreak havoc. Away from Nigeria, 2 killed as 6.9 magnitude earthquake shakes Mexico. Hello and welcome to Trust News Update. I am Ayuba Ilya. Thank you so much for joining. Details now. And now the details. Despite the National Industrial Court ruling restraining ASUU from continuing the 7-month-old strike, lecturers are waiting for directives from the union for further action. Noel Samson visits one of the universities in Abuja to see level of compliance with the order.
Appeal that judgment so that
the National Industrial Court of Nigeria has ruled that ASUU should call off their ongoing strike and resume work. But a visit to this university that is always bustling with activities is eerily quiet, showing no sign of work resumption. Classrooms and most offices empty, enveloped in dust, and the once spacious environment that was covered with students and petty traders, mingling with different activities, is now covered with grass and termites. A lecturer in the university spoke on the court ruling.
My personal opinion is that ASUU should actually appeal that judgment so that by the time we get to the Supreme Court, we get the final verdict. Then at that time, because one thing we can assure you is that ASUU is law abiding. ASUU has a process. Actually, when the judgment comes, the National Executive would have to go back to notify all branches. Branches must also have Congress meetings. So at the end of the Congress meeting, they will pass that information that, okay, this is the court decision, and then what's the next line of action? I'm sure it will be discussed exhaustively at all ASUU branches nationwide. With or without the strike, actually, lecturers come in. Like I come in today not because I'm complying with any order that the university should be open. I have my other research things to do. I have other my academic activities to do. So I'm sure colleagues usually come with or without the order. But I don't really know because the order just came in, I think, yesterday. So today is just the first day after the announcement of the order. So I wouldn't know, possibly. Some may just come to say, okay, what's happening?
Moving from the academic, those petty traders who depend on the students to make a living said absence of academic activities has affected them negatively.
If ASUU will respond to what the court say, because we staying back home, all this while has affected our business. And not only us, even the students that are supposed to have moved forward, they are still held back because of the strike. So if the ASUU president will adhere to what the court ruling is and they come back to school to do, it will be very good.
Our reaction about this strike typically was, thank God, we see some moves from government, we see some move from societies and associations and so on.
Observers said while ASUU and the federal government seem to be at deadlock and adamant, Nigerian students are the receiving end. It is the future and the future of this great nation. Therefore, amicable solutions should be reached. Noel Samson, Trust TV News, Abuja.
Meanwhile, the chairman of the Committee of Pro-Chancellors of State-Owned Universities of Nigeria, Yusuf Ali, says 70% of state-owned universities were not affected by the Academic Staff Union of University strike. Ali, who is the Pro-Chancellor of Osun State University, spoke during the convocation lecture delivered by the former Vice-Chancellor, University of Ibadan, Professor Abel Udo. He said that the no work, no pay policy helps in preventing staff of universities from embarking on strike. The guest speaker in his lecture lamented that the number of Nigerians pursuing education outside the country is very high due to the recurrent strikes in public universities in Nigeria.
When I assumed the position of the chairmanship of Committee of Pro-Chancellors of all the 57 state universities in Nigeria, I said it is the little work we are able to do here with your support that made them to recommend and recognize our little effort. I can tell you today as I'm speaking, 70% of state universities are working. 70% of state universities all over Nigeria. All the 3 universities in Lagos are working, state universities. Ogun working. Delta work, all the universities, 3 of them in Delta are working. Edo, they are working. Lautech is working, among others. Reason is because the members of staff have been able to reason with us that if you no do, you no go chop. So members of staff, I thank you once again from the bottom of my heart.
And on security matters, Oyo State Police Command has paraded a 20-year-old suspect for allegedly raping and killing a 17-year-old girl in a church in Ibadan. The suspect was paraded alongside 20 others at the Oyo State Police Headquarters in Ibadan, the Oyo State capital. Police revealed that the violated lifeless body of the victim was found beside a Bible school in Olodo area of Ibadan. It was learned that the suspect was alleged to have invited the deceased into a church where she was killed. 20 other suspects paraded by the police were alleged armed robbers, vandals, and those involved in other forms of notorious crimes. The police said that a sum of 2.5 million naira, cars and ammunition were recovered from the suspect.
At about 20:30 hours, which is about 8:30 p.m. local time, the command was intimated about the sudden disappearance of a 17-year-old female named Ifeoluwa. In addition to the above, the command, through painstaking and diligent investigations, were able to apprehend one Kolade Tosin Mill, a 20-year-old that has voluntarily confessed to the crime. Investigations are still on to ascertain the motive behind the sinister action. Upon completion of the investigation, he would be charged to court.
When she came in, I told her she not shout. I removed the knife from my pocket. When I keep the knife, I remove it. I want to attack her with knife to collect her phone, but she did not want to give me the phone. She dragged the knife with me, and the knife fell down. When the knife fell down, he was trying to run out. When she was trying to run out, I hit her leg. She fell down. She used her head to bang the floor. She gets weak. When she gets weak, I rape her.
The Lagos State Special Offences Court Ikeja has refused bail to James Olarewaju, a Nigerian Nollywood actor popularly known as Baba Ijesha. Justice Oluwatoyin Taiwo had earlier convicted and sentenced the actor to 5 years imprisonment, but his defense counsel, Joel Olabiran, approached the court to grant the actor suspended prison sentence pending when the appeal court will call his case for hearing. Olabiran further says that they have appealed the conviction and sentencing before the appeal court, as the court is yet to fix date for the hearing.
Olarewaju James was convicted on 4 of the 6 counts charge brought against him. So serving term for 5 years. But one of the remedies applicable to a convict is to seek or plead the court for bail pending his appeal. Whilst bail before trial, is as a matter of right, because it's constitutionally provided for. but bail after conviction is usually at the discretion of the court. So it's like praying the court to have mercy on the convict, to allow him, to be coming for his appeal from home. But now the court, did not see reason for our application. So the court did not consider it meritorious. But since the matter is on appeal, we are hopeful and very confident.
Staying with security matters, Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps NSCDC in Katsina trained 600 vigilantes to help in tackling insecurity in the state. The training, which was sponsored by Katsina State Government, is expected to complement other security organizations in the fight against banditry ravaging the state. Abdullahi Ahmadi reports that the 600 vigilante strong corps brings the number to 1,100 so far trained by the government. His report.
With these vigilantes trained, the government believes that the menace of terrorists will soon come to an end. Katsina government is pained by the terrorists' failure to embrace peace, despite all offers and efforts presented to that effect by the state actors.
Just last week, I signed a request to the State House of Assembly asking about 1.5 billion naira for security purposes. Just last week, the Assembly was gracious enough to approve, and inshallah by this week we are going to start implementation.
Out of the 600 battle-ready vigilante personnel, about 250 are women. But the question on lips of many is what the vigilante corps will do differently to bring about the much-needed peace to the people of Katsina State.
We will no longer sit down and be docile to allow people to be killed like animals. Even animals cannot be killed the way bandits are killing our people. The state government has done everything possible by offering dialogue, giving amnesty, a lot of incentives that people should come and embrace peace. But it has shown that the only language these people understood is that of confrontation.
Many stakeholders boasted that the commissioned vigilante corps are ready to confront the bandits to their enclaves and defeat them. Let me quickly say we are ready to die for our dear state to enjoy peace. As such, I'm asking all the perpetrators of insecurity to come back to their senses and embrace peace. In the next couple of days, all things being equal, insecurity will be history. Give us weapons, at least, for protection, and leave us with the rest. The government is also promising to train about 2,000 vigilante corps put together before the expiration of its tenure in 2023. The objective is to complement the effort of other security operatives in combating the escalating insecurity bedevil in Katsina State. Abdullahi Ismail, Trust Television News, Katsina.
No fewer than 14,496 farms were destroyed by flooding in 5 local government areas of Kano State. The Director General, National Emergency Management Agency, Mustafa Habib, made the disclosure during an on-the-spot assessment tour of communities ravaged by flood in Wara and Wudil local government areas of the state on Wednesday. Habib said that the assessment report will be compiled and submitted to the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development for onward submission to the President. He pointed out that the federal government will intervene in the matter as soon as possible, as it is an emergency that requires immediate intervention. The Executive Secretary of Kano State Emergency Management Agency, Dr. Saleh Jili, said that the increase in floods was as a result of the spillway of Tiga Dam. The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, said that a former governor of Kano State, Senator Ibrahim Shekarau, remains the senatorial candidate of the New Nigeria People's Party, NNPP. INEC's National Commissioner and Chairman, Information and Voter Education Committee, Festus Okoye, said that the former governor remains the candidate of the NNPP for Kano Central Senatorial District, noting that July 15, 2022 was stipulated as the last day for withdrawal and replacement of National Assembly candidates, and Shekarau withdrew his candidature on the 26th day of August 2022. Shekarau, who defected to the People's Democratic Party from NNPP on August 29, was on Tuesday listed as the candidate of the NNPP for Kano Central by INEC. Reacting, the publicity secretary of the NNPP in Kano, Abdullahi Ibrahim Rogo, said that the party was not surprised that Shekarau's name appeared on its slot, adding that, however, that it has started the process of correcting the anomaly. The Chief Judge of the Federal High Court in Abuja, Justice John Zoho, has set aside a consent judgment in favor of Panic Alert Security Systems Limited against Nigeria Governors Forum. Delivering the ruling on Wednesday, Justice Zoho held that the said consent judgment was entered without jurisdiction in its entirety. Justice Zoho agreed with counsel to the NGF that the reliefs claimed by the company were premised on a simple contract which, by Section 251 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 1999, strips the court ab initio the required jurisdiction to entertain such matter. Accordingly, the court set aside the consent judgment, and the company is one of the beneficiaries of the payment of $418 million to consultants and is said to be for payment for professional services in the Paris Club refund to state governments. It had relied on the consent judgment to lay claim to professional fees of over $40 million. You're watching the news update on Trust Television. Coming up shortly, we'll take a look at celebrating peace in the midst of challenges. Details of this and more after the break. Welcome back. This is the news update on Trust Television. Here's a reminder of our top stories again. University lecturers defy court order to resume work, stay away from classrooms. Oyo police parade 20-year-old suspects for rape, murder of 17-year-old. Now, elsewhere, retirees in Niger State on Wednesday stormed the government house in Minna to protest the alleged non-payment of their gratuity for the past 8 years. The chairman, Niger State Retirees Pressure Group, Stephen Daniel Zita, told Trust TV that many pensioners have died without their retirement benefits in the state. The report.
The angry retirees on Wednesday stormed the government house for the third time in 1 month to express their grievances over the non-payment of their retirement benefits since the current administration came on board in 2015. They said during each of their protests at the state seat of power, the governor was said to have travelled. The chairman of the group, Stephen Daniel Zita, said many retirees have developed partial stroke due to the trauma they have gone through pursuing the payment of their benefits in the last 8 years.
Today marks the third day of this protest. The first protest took place on the 5th and on the 6th. On the 6th, the director DSS intervened and asked us to be patient in view of the fact that the governor is not in town. He said he is going to talk to him and we should allow him a space of days from that Tuesday to Thursday to Friday, spread to the weekend, so that when he comes back, they will discuss and they will get back to us. As I'm telling you, we have not had anything. Apart from the interface that we have, the organized labor. The crux of the whole issue is that retirees in Niger State for many years have not paid their entitlements.
The protesters said some of them had to beg to feed their families, while some of them had to have their children drop out of school because they could no longer pay their school fees.
You can see from the background, we find out that a lot of retirees have been dying without receiving their gratuity. A lot of retirees have retired, some of them have not even received their pension, and a lot of things have been happening to the retirees that this government has not been so careful in order to be able to catch up with the lives and the dues of the retirees. There are times that the federal government gave Paris Club money for these retirees to get their own gratuity and pension. This government did not do anything about it. It even came to a point that after the Paris Club, there were other loans that were given for retirees' gratuity to be settled. But this government felt adamant to pay.
That's 7 years I don't get kobo. I just suffer. But my children, they don't go to school again. No school, no anything. I don't get anything. Now I'm a very poor, as a poor man now. Because I want to beg you, because of Allah, make you help us to pay our gratuity.
The protesters accused the Niger State chapter of the Nigeria Union of Pensioners of not protecting the interests of its members. Addressing the protesters, the Deputy Governor Ahmed Mohammed Ketso said the government would look into their complaints and fix Thursday to interface with the protesters.
Now let's talk about peace. The Borno State government has said it will establish an additional repentant Boko Haram camp to ease the peace and reintegration process of surrendered terrorists. The revelation was made during the commemoration of the 2022 World Peace Day in Maiduguri, organized by the Peace Ambassador Center for Humanitarian Aid and Empowerment. Beatrice Kurutzi has more.
Over the years, the conflict of insurgency in the northeast has been a threat to peace and reconciliation. It also resulted to the displacement of millions and loss of lives and property. This eroded social cohesion and triggered human rights violations, heightened poverty, unemployment, and socio-economic imbalances. The theme of this year's World Peace Day is End Racism and Build Peace. The gathering focused on advocacy for peace in communities targeted for return and reintegration of repentant Boko Haram terrorists.
This I want to end by calling on the Borno State government to ensure that the civil society are strongly involved in these processes. For now, as a center, we are involved in the process of sensitizing the repentant, and we are appealing to the government that more stakeholders, and then in the framework of integration and other aspects.
We have over 52,000. That is a great burden on the state government. That is why a committee was set now under the chairmanship of President Kakasho for the state government to create the second camp. Very soon, we are creating the second camp around Bongolo Road.
There is no family that has not been affected by this insurgency. So as a result, peace is an issue for all of us to address and face.
The kinetic is always only 25%. The non-kinetic, which involves all of us, is 75% as of now. So please, I want to encourage us, especially the citizens, give us information. You know, those that doesn't want peace, they will trade peace for monetary gains. They will trade peace for their selfish interests.
The panel discussion focused on the impact of discrimination of young people in the context of insurgency and addressing it through peace-building approaches. Stakeholders are unanimous in the belief that the message of peace-building will be a collective responsibility of all Nigerians.
Now, Nigerians will not be able to use their Naira debit cards for international transactions as scarcity of foreign exchange worsens in Africa's largest economy and biggest oil exporter. Reports say that some banks have already alerted their customers on the latest development, while others are keenly watching activities before implementing the policy owing to the scarcity of forex. This development is coming a few months after banks in the country reduced the monthly international spending limit on Naira cards to as low as $20. The daily international withdrawal limit has been around $100 for most banks until March, when banks cut international spending. Away from Nigeria, a strong earthquake jolted Mexico on Thursday, leaving 2 people dead as residents rushed out into the streets of the capital in the middle of the night, days after another powerful tremor. Authorities say that a woman died in Mexico City after falling down some stairs and hitting her head when the quake triggered early warning alarms, while the second victim suffered a heart attack. The national agency that is in charge of the climate change reported that the epicenter of the 6.9 magnitude earthquake was near the Pacific coast, 84 kilometers south of Colcoman in the western state of Michoacan. It was the strongest of more than 1,200 aftershocks from a magnitude 7.7 quake that struck the same area on Monday. Finally, in sports news, Manchester United on Thursday announced a net loss of £115.5 million for the 2021-2022 season, even though revenues rose to £583 million as coronavirus restrictions eased. The financial year to June 30, 2022, also brought a 22% rise in debt and a 19% increase in wages, while net debt increased from £419.5 million in 2021 to £514.9 million. United attributed the rise in debt mainly to the fall of the pound, which increased the value of US dollar borrowings. Among other large items were dividends of £33.6 million to shareholders and the £24.7 million compensation package for former manager Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, sacked in November 2021. And that's a wrap on Trust News Update. You can watch more via all our social media platforms and also watch us live on YouTube. I am Ayuba Ilya. Thank you so much for watching. Bye for now.